Hey friend, it's me Vasco with a quick announcement. We at the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast are organizing this year's Scrum Master Summit. For tickets and details on the summit, check out the URL bit.ly/SM Summit 22. All one word, SMSUMMIT 22. And now, on to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. And this week, joining us from a very special place, which you will recognize in a minute, in Denmark, is Steen Villumsen. Hi, Steen. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Vasco. Thanks for the opportunity.
So exactly where are you, Steen?
So today I'm at the Lego campus in the middle of Billund, Denmark, where I work as an Agile Coach at the moment. So I'm joining you from here.
Absolutely. Lego campus, I mean, that would be a dream place for me as I was a child growing up and, of course, playing with a lot of Legos. So Steen is an Agile Coach, as he said, who calls himself a conceptualiser and a communicator. His focus is on moving people and supporting change through coaching, which is a topic we will definitely get into a lot more during this week with Steen. So Steen, tell us a little bit more about yourself and also how did you end up becoming a Scrum Master?
It can feel fairly random, but at least, and still it feels a bit like it was meant to be. I was actually, I came up through the business side of things, you might say. So I started out as a graphic designer in the beginning of my career, just around the time when IT was becoming a thing. And I think especially the fascination of technology have sort of drawn me in this direction. So working initially as a graphic designer, doing catalogs and websites and stuff like that, I quickly sort of grew into becoming the link between the newly established IT department or IT team of this big ad agency and the graphic designers. We were starting to look into and be curious about, what we'll be able to automate and stuff like that to sort of cut some corners in the graphic production. And that sort of threw me in the direction of project management, which felt like, just really formalizing what I did, because I was definitely the link between the specialists on the graphic side and the design side and the IT team. And then as IT grew and IT products became an offering from the ad agency I was in at that time as well, then suddenly Agile became something everybody talked about, right? And offered a different kind of approach and structure and thinking to the more traditional approach you would usually have. So, and that also led me to Lego, a passion for the bricks, which had become a hobby at that time. And then when Lego were looking for somebody to run a newly established digital asset management area, I thought, hey, digital asset management, that's what I've been doing actually for a lot of years in my previous work. And it felt good joining the Lego group and sort of combining passions in that regard. And then a couple of years ago, 3 actually, the opportunity arose within Lego, the Lego group, to become a Scrum Master. It was called at that time. Now we're all Agile Coaches. I was lucky enough to be in the position where I could grab that opportunity and sort of, it felt like coming home to the IT area again, which was very, very nice.
Absolutely. And of course, you had experience already in project management together with IT, so I'm sure that you felt a lot of familiarity there. I don't know how much you already knew about Agile. I'm sure at least some parts of it started to become clear as working with IT is kind of while working with IT, it is a necessity, at least these days, to know a little bit about Agile and the different Agile methods. But today is Monday, of course, here on the podcast, so we explore a story of a moment of failure. And we do that because we believe that by analyzing and learning from failure, we can then become better and grow as practitioners. So let's go through that story, Steen. Walk us through that story and, tell us from the beginning how it started, what were the events that were unfolding, and we'll talk about the conclusions later on. But tell us the story first.
Absolutely. And what comes to mind is a story around really doing too much at the same time. So in this context, I had the role as product owner And this was still in the beginning with Agile and so on. And I really, quickly grew into, you could call it an evangelist of Agile, right? So there were a lot of things I could see were hugely beneficial, both to the collaboration with the IT team, the structure that Agile and Scrum in this case brought to us, the way we prioritize not only on the IT product itself, but also on the organization around us. So I was really enthused about getting all this up and running as quickly as possible. And I definitely wanted to prove myself. I was promoted to product owner, right? So I wanted to show everybody around me that this was what I was meant to be doing all the time, really. So I just put a lot of things in motion. This was before I became I hadn't spent much time on change management or coaching at that time. I just really set a lot of boats in the water.
And by putting a lot of things in motion, I imagine you mean starting a lot of feature development within the team. Is that what you mean?
I actually mean towards our ways of working.
Okay. So changing how to work.
Exactly. Yes. So we were from an IT product team perspective, we were introducing agile ceremonies, and I just read the book, so I knew exactly how those had to run, right?
And you just have to do what I tell you, right?
Exactly. Yes, not all those questions that keep slowing us down, right? And the same thing actually was the case with the organization around us. So I was part of the leadership team, or a leadership team at that time, and I was super keen to introduce Agile in a leadership context as well. So we would be using some of the methodologies in the terms of how we prioritize the conversations we had from a leadership team perspective as well. And it was in hindsight, it was obvious. It was very much by the book and not overwhelming in involving the team and the surroundings, which of course had consequences for the implementation.
One of the things that this story brings to my mind is this, I think, a phenomena that is quite natural and even predictable, that it takes a lot of effort. And I would say that many of us, including myself in my own journey, many of us are not ready to understand or even to accept the journey of others, right? Like their own learning path, the things that they struggle with. You said a phrase that really stuck in my mind. We could be so much faster if you just did what I tell you, instead of all of those questions that just slow us down. And it's very natural for us, especially if we've read the book and even had the training and perhaps even had some experience. It's very easy for us to say, hey, there's a way that would be much faster if you just did what I tell you. But of course, that also means that we are not allowing the other people to go through their learning journey, right? Like they are being, as it were, teleported into a future time in their learning journey without context, without knowing why that's important, without knowing even how to do things wrongly, because doing things right means that you know how to do them wrongly, right? Like you've learned, you've compared, you've grown out of that. And it reminds me that as Scrum Masters, we must do a deliberate effort to put ourselves in the other people's shoes, right? And to understand, okay, if I get a question, it should not be about, is the question a good question or a bad question, but rather what's triggering that question? What are they confused about? What's unclear, right?
Exactly. So those questions, they would be, healthy indicators in where that particular individual is on their change journey, right? And I really think that's hitting the nail, is that it's never your journey alone, right? For you to bring someone, it's always the journey of the team and your surrounding, right?
I like to use stories as metaphor, and of course there's the story of Star Wars, which we all know, and I'm reminded because Steen has in the background the Death Star Lego set, which is amazing. I'm so jealous. and part of that story is the realization that the hero must first meet a master who knows a lot more, but cannot tell him what to do rather can only help them to reflect on what's going on, right? Like this is when Yoda and Luke work together, and Yoda tries to explain Luke how to reflect and how to feel, and so that he may understand what the use of the Force means in that particular story. And in our case, because we work with a lot of Lukes out there as well, right? Like Luke, our faithful Scrum Master, which is the avatar for this podcast, is also struggling with that journey, but also are the team members. And the role of the Scrum Master is very much like Yoda's role, right? We can't tell them what they don't know. We can only help them discover what they don't know.
Absolutely. We can be the grease, right? That greases the wheels, or we can be the facilitator that makes the journey potentially easier, or the inspirator that shows, all the opportunities on where to go. But it's everyone else who needs to decide for themselves on how and when to take that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point. It's everybody else's decision when to take the journey. A great way to end this episode. Thank you very much, Steen.
Thank you, Vasco.
Hey friends, it's Vasco again, now with a bit longer announcement. I'm part of the team that is behind the Global Scrum Master Summit, the conference dedicated to the Scrum Master role. If you're a Scrum Master, the Scrum Master Summit is a place to learn, to share, and of course to meet new friends. We will have lots of live sessions where you can meet and network with other Scrum Masters from the whole globe. So make sure you check it at bit.ly/SM Summit 22. We have several amazing keynotes and 7 tracks that feature people like you and, of course, thought leaders sharing their insights, their knowledge, and helping you become an awesome Scrum Master. You can check out all of the details of the summit, including the keynotes announced, the track chairs, and much more at bit.ly/SM Summit 22. That's all one word. That's bit.ly/SM SUMMIT and the numeral 22. I'll see you on the conference floor.